April 1987. I have nothing to report about what was going on in my life at this time. I was still in California, still in the Air Force. Same old. Running up and down the coast of California, keeping our country safe. Um, but I did read some books. Not as many as the last few months, but an interesting mix, I think. So the first book I read in April of 1987 was Some Kind of Wonderful by David Bischoff, however you say his name. And this was just a novelization of the movie, Some Kind of Wonderful, which was your typical 80s teen romance kind of thing. It starred Eric Stoltz, Leah Thompson, Mary Stuart Masterson. Is that the one? I don't know. There were like a few Mary three names back in the day. I get them mixed up, but I think it's Mary Stuart Masterson. Um, and it was just Eric Stoltz is in love with rich girl Leah Thompson. Mary Stuart Masterson is kind of an outsider. She's in love with Eric Stoltz. It's that kind of thing. The movie's fine. I don't know why I read the novelization. It's not typically the kind of thing. I mean, a movie you can see in an hour and a half, 2 hours. Boom, you're done. Maybe you were on a date. There's a reason you went to see it. It takes a little longer to read the book, and it's not typically the kind of thing I would read, so I'm not sure why I read this. And I don't remember whether the book was any good or not. I'm sure it was just like the movie, which was fine. Anyway, that's enough of that. Second book in April 1987, Eight Black Horses by Ed McBain. This is an 87th Precinct novel. I really hope I got that correct. 87th Precinct? I think that's the precinct. I won't be embarrassed if I'm wrong. I'll just have to double check. There's going to be more of these coming up. Great series. Mysteries, police procedurals. Um, I believe when Ed McBain wrote the first one, he meant to kill off the main character of that story because it was the books were supposed to be more about the precinct and the cops that come and go. But apparently the publisher thought that he needed a main character for the whole series, so he didn't kill that guy off. But anyway, this book is like number 38 out of 52 or something. Eight Black Horses, and so there's a dead body. It's a naked female body, and our intrepid detectives are trying to, of course, solve this mystery. But they're getting these weird messages and clues and things that may or may not connect to it. And there's sort of a recurring bad guy called the Deaf Man, and they think the Deaf Man may be back and responsible. And it's a mystery with a lot of police detail. So it's not a private detective. It's kind of the NYPD Blue of books, only better. I mean, that show was fine. I watched it, but really like the 87th Precinct books by Ed McBain. It's good stuff. Next, we have a very obscure book, Animal Farm by George Orwell. Not sure if anybody reads this book. Actually, so when I was in high school, I very seldom read anything that we were assigned in class. There were very few things that I actually read when I was supposed to read them. And so, I read what I want when I want. It's how I roll. So this is why I read Animal Farm in April of 1987 when I was in the Air Force, because that's when I decided to read it. Do I need to talk about what it is? It's anthropomorphic animals creating socialism, right? I mean, obviously, it's been a long time since I read it. I do recall enjoying it, and I think I don't think I'd read 1984 at this point. That will be coming up later in this long series of videos. But I do think I liked Animal Farm better than 1984 once both were under my belt. And the artist who did a lot of the animation for the movie The Wall, Pink Floyd's The Wall, did an illustrated version of Animal Farm. And I've never owned a copy, but I've looked through it. I wouldn't mind having a copy. It's beautiful, just fantastic artwork. But Animal Farm, George Orwell. I think we all know what that is. Next, book number 4, Cannery Row by John Steinbeck. Again, reading what I want when I want. And I enjoyed this. I definitely remember enjoying this. It's a short book. When I was looking up on Amazon, I saw very few copies, very few books that were just Cannery Row. There were a lot of books that there were combinations of Cannery Row and one or two other things because it's a short one, and it's basically about the area, Cannery Row, which apparently was named Cannery Row after the book. Officially, they changed the name to Cannery Row after the book. But it's vignettes of the people that live there. The main plot is there's a guy, Doc, a marine biologist, and these people want to throw him a party. They want to do something to thank him for all the things he's done for them. And so they throw a party. It gets out of control, which pisses off Doc. So they decide the way to get back in his good graces is to throw him another party. And mix that with just little vignettes of all the residents' lives. And that's Cannery Row. I had to look that up, though. I didn't remember much about it, but I did remember enjoying it. So number 5 out of 6. Only 6 books in April of 1987. But number 5, The Secret in the... I always do this because I didn't write this down the way I should have. Doc Savage, The Secret in the Sky by Kenneth Robeson. And as always, typical Doc Savage adventure. Doc and his 5 teammates fighting evil. Running around the country, running around the world. Just beating up on the bad guys. And finally, the last book that I read in April 1987, and the only one I have a copy of, is Christine by Stephen King. Just this year, I want to say, I started rebuilding my Stephen King collection, and I've been looking for the certain covers, and this is absolutely the cover that I wanted for Christine. Because obviously, excuse me, I think with the exception of Rage by Richard Bachman, I think everything is easily available. But all these old books, I've been looking for these certain, like I said, specific covers. This is definitely the one I wanted for this. I'm looking over at my Stephen King books, dropping stuff. And like The Stand, I think I mentioned this in my I'm returning to YouTube video from a few months back. Stand very specifically wanted that black cover that has like a guy's face superimposed with a raven. I grew up seeing that cover. So that's the one I wanted. That's the one I read for the first time. I read The Stand earlier this year. But I have an old copy of Carrie, a great copy of Salem's Lot. Not the one I want, but number 2, the runner-up. Dead Zone, The Shining. I got that shiny silver cover, if any of you remember that one. Cujo had to have the one that's, I don't even know if it's the whole dog's head or just his muzzle. Firestarter. I don't know why I'm just talking about specific covers when I should be talking about Christine, which is the book I read back in April 1987. 500 pages. I don't remember it being that long. I remember enjoying it. I do want to go back and reread all this old stuff, which is crazy considering how much new stuff I have to read. But sometimes you got to do it. Again, I may have mentioned this in my I'm returning to YouTube video. I used to say that Pet Sematary was the second most boring book I'd ever read in my life. And just earlier this year, I reread it. Maybe it was late last year. I reread it and I loved it. I don't know how the hell I thought it was a boring book. It was absolutely fantastic. So it's possible I enjoyed this one the first time I read it. Who knows how I'll feel about it the second time. But and do I need to, again, Does anyone not know what Christine is? It's a killer car. Uh, Nerdy kid buys a car, fixes it up. It protects him. He becomes super cool and kind of a dick. um, Car's running around killing people and fixing itself. And I mean, there are differences between the book and the movie. Um, I believe, spoilers, that in the book, if I remember correctly, it's pretty clear that there's a ghost in the car. And in the movie, it seems like it's just the car itself is alive or doing things. So again, haven't read it since 1987, so I could have that wrong. But anyway, that's the last book I read in April of 1987. Christine by Stephen King. Love that cover. So that's it. Just 6 books, it looks like, in April 1987. I must have been so busy protecting our country out there in California on the coast. And it looks like 2, 4, 6, 7. Ooh, 7 in May. You should be excited about that. So that's all I got this time. I'm Eric Smith. And until next time, read more books.